Good morning, my name's Abby. Welcome to my channel if you're new here. Welcome back if you're not. Today I have a full day ahead of me and I thought I would bring you guys with me and we can chat some of our homestead plans for 2023. It is going to be a very exciting year here for us with a couple new additions, so more on that in a bit. But today we have lots of seeds to get started. I'm a little bit concerned. I haven't started my onions yet. I wish I had like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Our estimated last frost date is May 8th, so we're about 9 weeks out from that. So we've got to get those onions going as well as a few other things, and then I've got a couple projects to do here in the kitchen. We are going to be doing a little bit more canning because I'm just on a canning kick since the kitchen's been completed the past couple weeks. So I think this is going to be like my 6th canning session in 2 weeks, which is not typical for me this time of year, but we're going to be canning up some carrot soup to get another meal on the pantry shelf. For now, I am gonna head outside. I've got some chores to do with the chickens. We're gonna be heading out of town at the end of the week. So I've gotta get them all ready to go for that. And then I'm gonna head to the nursery, grab a couple supplies. We'll come back and get started on the seeds. We're having a dirt bath party over here. We just use a cat litter box to make sure they've got a nice dry spot in the winter. Okay, we've got some fresh shavings down in the coop for the girls. We do deep litter method through the winter. It's honestly really the only thing that works here. It gets too cold to clean out the coop regularly. Everything just freezes, so that's what we've done. Back there in the corner, that is Ginger. Ginger is probably our favorite chicken, but she's a bit of a troublemaker. She is the one that gets out all the time, and she's hard to catch when she does. And she likes to go broody, which is what she's done again, just in time for us to go out of town. Okay, I'm gonna start up a batch of yogurt. We have milk pickup today and I still have like half a gallon of milk left from last week. So I'm just gonna pour like a cup, maybe 2 cups of the raw milk into the Instant Pot. And then for a half gallon, we're just gonna use a 1/4 cup of like a starter, which is essentially just gonna be yogurt. So if you've done this before, you can save some of the yogurt from the previous batch. Otherwise, you can use store-bought as long as there are active cultures in it. So you want to make sure it does say that there are live active cultures in the yogurt. So just about a 1/4 cup. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a whisk quickly. You want to make sure your Instant Pot is really clean. Then we'll add the rest of the milk. I'll get the lid on. As you can see, I removed the rubber ring. Get the lid on. You don't need to seal it. Okay, so we're gonna use the yogurt function. That will set the timer for 20 hours. And we're gonna let that go. After the 20-hour mark, we're gonna move the insert into the fridge. And then you'll let it sit for a couple hours. At that point, you can use the yogurt as is. If you like a thicker Greek-style yogurt, which is my preference, what you would do is strain that yogurt through some cheesecloth. That'll drain off some of the whey, and then I'll just use that whey to give to the chickens. So, super simple. Okay, so we're gonna get started on the soup. The recipe is a carrot and fennel soup. I don't have any fennel though, so I'm just doing a carrot soup. And I'm gonna adjust the seasonings a little bit just to fit my preference better. But I'll let you know what we end up doing, and I'll link the original recipe just down below in the description box. So I've got those carrots sauteing, and I'm gonna get the broth added in here. Okay, so I have that on medium-low. I'm just gonna get this seasoned. So I'm gonna add 2 bay leaves. I'm gonna do some salt. Pepper. Ginger, maybe a teaspoon. Maybe a little bit more. Some turmeric. And some chili flakes. I'm gonna let this simmer for probably 30 minutes or so before we go ahead and get it blended up with an immersion blender, at which point we'll give it a taste and see if we need to adjust the seasonings. I went a little bit on the conservative side with the seasonings because we can always add more. Obviously we can't take it out, so we're gonna start with that. And I will say I used chicken broth instead of vegetable broth. The recipe calls for vegetable broth, which is perfectly safe. So if you're vegetarian, you could definitely stick with the vegetable broth, but chicken broth is my preference. Okay, so we're gonna need some more ginger in there. And a bunch of garlic powder because we don't have any fresh garlic in the recipe. Okay, we need garlic powder. Still a little more ginger. I'm gonna need to give this another blend after this. And I think that I'm gonna stir in a little bit of honey. I think that would be good. But I think it's okay on salt. We can always add more later. I'm just gonna put that down to low heat. And we'll just do a big spoonful of our honey. I think this would be really good made into a curry with some coconut milk and maybe some like Thai red chili paste. But we'll leave the seasoning as is for now because I think it'll be good just as a soup. And then if we want to use it in something like a curry, we can always add those seasonings later. Okay, yes, that little bit of honey was exactly what we needed. So I'm gonna go ahead, give this one more blend, and then we will get our jars ready to go, get them filled up, and then into the canner. I changed my mind. So I found that I had like half of a container of Thai red chili paste in the freezer from another recipe that I didn't finish it in. So I just went ahead and added that. That was probably like a tablespoon or two, not a whole lot, but I think that's gonna add a good flavor to this. So we're just gonna go ahead and get all these jars filled up to 1 inch of headspace. Okay, we've got 10 pints to go into the canner. Okay, so once we see that steady stream of steam coming out of the vent pipe, we will start the timer for 10 minutes. After that 10-minute mark, we will put on the regulator and bring it up to pressure. For me, that's gonna be 11 pounds of pressure at my elevation, and I have to double check on the processing time for this, so I'll leave that on the screen here. So I just had to run to town for our milk pickup, and I had to go pay for some chicks at the feed store. So let's hop downstairs and we'll get these seeds going, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Okay, so I have 4 72 cell seed trays here. We're gonna be using 3 of these for onions, and the 4th we're gonna be doing some shallots, cabbage, celery, and rosemary in. And I think that's all we're gonna be planting today. So for onions, we're doing all storage varieties. We are doing mostly yellow. We'll do some white and some red, but yellow is what we typically use more of. So we're doing yellow of Parma, Boratana, Red Wing, and then White Wing. And then in this far tray, we're gonna be doing shallots. We're gonna be using the conserver shallots. For purple cabbage, we're doing Integro. For green, we're doing Danish ball head. And then for celery, we're using tall Utah, and then we'll get some rosemary going in there. Okay, I'm gonna start by getting all of these filled up with some seed starting mix, and then we will get to sowing seeds. So as I mentioned, I had to run into town to pay for our chick order, and I'm gonna share a little bit more about that with you guys. So if you're new here, just to give you a feel for what we've got going on, we currently have our laying flock. So we have 15 hens and a rooster. And then last year we got honeybees. So that's pretty much what we've got going on. We've got lots of fruit here on the property. Last year we got the bees. A couple years ago we got chickens, and then we've got the garden. And so the logical next step for us has been to start raising our own meat, which is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. And this year we are taking the plunge. So I'm really excited about that. We are gonna be doing 2 batches of meat chickens. One is gonna arrive in, we'll get the chicks in April, mid-April, so just a month away. And then the second batch, we'll get the chicks in mid-June. So the first batch, we are doing 30, we're jumping right into it, 30 Cornish Rock. And the second batch, we will do 30 Western Rustic. And that way we can just try out both breeds, see what we like for future years. But we have a lot to do in preparation for that. And then mid-May, we will be getting piglets. So we'll have 2 Berkshire piglets coming here right around mid-May. So April, May, and June, we will have new animals arriving, which is exciting. And we have to get the pens set up for the pigs and for the chickens. And we still have lots of snow on the ground. So as soon as the ground thaws, we are gonna be busy at work outside. So we're doing everything we can to prep now. Once those chicks arrive in April, they'll be inside in a brooder for at least a few weeks anyway. Mid-May, we will need to have a pen ready for pigs and for the meat birds, because we would love to do something like a chicken tractor setup, but it just won't work for us. Our property backs right up to the mountain, and our biggest predator concern are bears. So I feel like a chicken tractor that would be light enough for my husband or I to move on a daily basis obviously would be pretty easy for a bear to get into. So we're just gonna build them a good sized pen. They'll get lots of garden scraps. I'd prefer if we could move them to new grass daily, but I don't think that's gonna really happen. I thought about doing something like building a chicken tractor and then building a pen as well, so we can move the chicken tractor in and out of the pen. The pen will be electric on the outside. But even that, then you get into having to build a gate big enough to be able to move a chicken tractor out of. So I think we're just gonna be setting up good sized pens for the pigs and for the meat birds, but there's lots to do with that. So for the pigs, we need to make sure that the electric is set up well enough that the pigs can't get out and so that the bears can't get in. But those are kind of the big things that we're doing this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. We will be butchering the chickens here ourselves. That's something that we can easily do. But the pigs, we will have to outsource because we just don't have the setup to butcher animals that size. But that is kind of our big plans for this year. We have a little bit going on with the garden. I would love to add more raised beds. I don't think this is gonna be the year that we do that. I need to be mindful of the fact that my husband is the one that builds all of this stuff, and he's got pens to build, electric fencing to do, and we will be putting some fencing around our in-ground garden area. A couple years ago, we planted a ton of onions, and we have a problem with wild turkeys, and they came and dug all of them up and destroyed my onion harvest. So we do not want that happening again. So we just picked up some simple cedar fencing panels last year from a local hardware store, and we're gonna be putting those up around the in-ground garden space. But those are really the main projects we have this year. The good thing is, you know, once those pens are up, once the fence around the garden is up, most of it will just be maintenance. We'll be taking care of the garden. Feeding animals is obviously a commitment, but not as big of a deal as like getting a pen ready in time for them to arrive. So those are a couple of the big things we've got going on this year. Really looking forward to documenting that and sharing that here with you. So onions, we need to plant just 1/4 inch deep. So I'm just going in and creating little divots to put our seeds in, and then we will go ahead and top them off with just a little bit more soil. The cabbage, celery, rosemary, and shallots all get sown 1/4 inch deep as well. So I'm just doing the same thing over here in this tray, and then I'm gonna get my spray bottle and we're gonna moisten the top of the soil really well. I prefer to bottom water, so I do have some water in the bottom of each of these trays. That is just personal preference. So I'm starting out with yellow of Parma, and I'm just gonna sow 3 seeds into each cell, about 3 seeds at least. Okay, so this is our current grow shelf setup. It's not perfect, but it does the job. So the top light, we're able to move down. We've got that suspended from the ceiling. All the other grow lights are attached to the shelving unit, so I can't move them down. So what we do instead is we move the seed trays up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that here in a moment. I just need to find myself some scrap wood. And then as we start more seeds, I'll just shift these over to the side a bit to make room for them. But this has worked decently well for us. So we've got these lights on a 12 on, 12 off schedule. And as I mentioned, I prefer to bottom water. So that is what we're doing here with these. So we just gave those onions a good mist before getting them on the shelf, and they've got some water in the bottom of the trays. So I ended up finding a couple crates that we weren't using, and I'm just gonna use those to lift them up a little bit closer to the light. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video here as we grab out these jars from the canner. Thanks guys for hanging out with me today. I'm really looking forward to documenting more of this journey this summer and sharing with you. We'll see you in the next video.